Hi, so my gender equality issue is the March Madness from 2021. And I thought about doing this because currently I play lacrosse here at the University of Cincinnati, and I think gender equality in sports, especially in my sport, is definitely on the uprise. So I think that this is a very important topic that should be discussed. So, a recent example of the ethical dilemma in sports industry that comes to mind is something that happened in the previous NCAA March Madness tournament. In the 2021 tournament, the men's basketball program was very prioritized over the women's program, and there have been many examples of gender equality being an issue in collegiate sports, so this was really a tipping point, especially for me. And they both went to the NCAA tournament. Men's went to Indianapolis, and the women's went to San Antonio, Texas. And they both had very different experiences when arriving in their hotels and practice arenas. And I think personally that before they went, this issue should have been dealt with, because especially in today's world, the gender equality in sports has been an issue. So I think before they should have even went, this should have been established. The food quality, lounges, weight room, and the gift bags provided even to all the players had a huge difference to them, and the differences that will be coming in the next slides are crazy. So here's what was presented to the women's team versus the men's team in Indiana. So for the weight room on the left, you can see that was the women's weight room. There was only a stack of dumbbells for them to use, and a little training table with mats on it in case they wanted to, stretch. Which I think, personally, as a Division I athlete, currently, this is very unacceptable, because I have the privilege, at the University of Cincinnati, to train in a full weight room every day with all this equipment that is making me stronger. And if they traveled all this way to Texas to use just a rack of dumbbells, I can see why they would be upset. And you can see on the right, the men's weight room is way bigger, and there's a whole section of weights and chairs for them to use, along with squat racks in the back, and the room was the size of an actual gym, where the women's weights and weight room was less than half the size of the men's. The next is the food quality, and I think this is definitely something that I can also relate to, because I've seen it firsthand, here and even there. So the left, you can see the women's section of their variety of food is way smaller than the men's. The men's have buffet style, and basically anything they can eat was there. All obviously the healthier options, because they're competing for a big title. And same with the women. So this honestly caught my eye, because even here at the University of Cincinnati, before we have games, we get fed too, and we get fed in the arena club, which so does basketball, but I've been there when basketball has been eating versus us, and obviously they get way better treatment. And even in the weight room, they have shakes made for them, post lift. They have their post snacks out ready with their names labeled, and obviously we don't have that because the gender equality is on the uprise. So that's very interesting to see. Next is the gift bags. This honestly made me really upset, because when we win our conference, we get what the men's had on the right side. They got the big dance, they got a whole banner, they had all this shampoo, conditioner, t-shirts, basically anything you can think of, they had on them. And the left side, you can see the women's, they got a small bag of toiletries, 2 water bottles, only 1 t-shirt that didn't even have the logo on it, and a little banner with socks. And I think that is definitely ridiculous, because women work 10 times, honestly, in my opinion, I think we work 10 times harder than men, because it's harder for us to build muscle and for us to compete than the men. So this definitely triggered me a little bit. The NCAA spent $125.55 per player in the first and second round of the men's tournament on the gifts for their players, while the women's side spent only $60.42 per player. That's not even half of the men's total for their gifts. And I think the experiences were so different, and complaints from the women's tournament came out very quickly. March Madness shouldn't be prioritized for just men's basketball, and it was very unfair for the women. And personally, like, I obviously get very upset over this because I play sports here at the same level of these people. If I was a sports manager involved in this dilemma, I would have done things a little differently. To start, I wouldn't have let this happen to begin with. I would have vocalized for the women's teams early on to definitely ensure that both men and women would get the same experience. There's nothing that I'd be able to do after the fact, but just to make a change after would be more than enough. I personally don't think that it wasn't just that the women didn't get equal gifts or lounges. It was the fact that the NCAA believed the women's team didn't deserve the same amenities as the men, which obviously should not happen. So, to conclude, the gender equality that was dealt with in the March Madness series of 2021 was unacceptable, and as a female athlete, that makes me just mad and upset. We don't practice the same hours as men just to get treated poorly and with no worth. I hope the 2022 March Madness Committee does a better job with the equality of both teams this year. So I'm very interested to see how the 2023 March Madness tournament